Hello and welcome to the Climbing Podcast post-match reaction. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson, joined by Matt Kendrick. Kendrick, apologies. This podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, and if you want to get your hands on a tasty discount code, you can find all the information for that in the link down below. It had to be him, didn't it, Matt? It had to be Jhon Duran scoring the winner. Hey! That felt weird. For those who are listening, me and John, I'm all over the place. Me and Matt just did the West Ham thing, which feels dirty. Yeah, it had to be him, didn't it? The narrative was there, wasn't it?
Just remarkable, wasn't it? It was just. I mean, he'd had the chance earlier, hadn't he? And I thought that was his moment when we stuck that one just into the side netting. But what a move! What a goal! What a story! What a way to reintroduce. I can't even speak myself. Reintroduce ourselves back onto the Premier League stage. Just magnificent. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. For those that are new to the podcast over the summer, we've had a lot of new audience. This is the post-match reaction live stream, which is basically usually me and Matt for home games. Sometimes Matt will do the aways when it's on telly, more often than not, or me and somebody else, where we'll just vibe basically for 30 minutes. You're not here for massive tactical insight. It's just our general thoughts and feelings. The game obviously finished 10 minutes ago, so we've heard nothing from Emery. It's all very raw and very fresh, which is what this show is. So yeah, that's for the new audience. For those returning, thank you for joining us once again. It's good fun, isn't it? The post-match live streams, almost whatever has happened. But when Villa are winning games, scoring nice goals, just to come on and talk about it in a nice casual manner is really fun, isn't it? And yeah, for Duran to be the one that creates that narrative. I mean, we talk about the hammer celebration thing, but the celebration today of like the hands up, sorry everyone, I'm staying, and all that. He's just such a great character, isn't it?
Is he real? As somebody, is he AI generated? Is this somebody who's just created something specially for the Premier League stage? It was even when he was like pleading for forgiveness after scoring the goal, there seemed to be a little element of mischief, a twinkle in his eye and an element of mischief among him. But
I was half expecting to do the hammer celebration, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that probably would have, it wouldn't have surprised me. But that's the thing about him, though, isn't it? Nothing surprises you with him, and everything surprises you with him at the same time. And it was. We'll probably go through this small jump about in terms of the chronology and stuff, but it was Emery knowing, trusting Watkins to play the 60, despite him not playing pre-season, but knowing when to change it and knowing when to inject some fresh impetus in it. And we've got a manager he won't settle. You know what I mean? He'll a point I think would have been decent, even though we dominated the first half up until the penalty shout. But that's not good enough for Emery. We've got 38 games to get where we need to go, so we're not going to write off one and then try and make up for it in the 37. I know we did that last year, but we've learned from last year, and it was just really, really. I didn't realise how much I'd missed it until that moment. Both the goals, both our goals. So love it. I'm buzzing.
Yeah, it turns out being rubbish in pre-season does mean nothing, because we were all talking about a slow start. West Ham very difficult. We don't have a great record there. Emery's, I don't think, ever beaten Lopetegui in any times they faced each other at different clubs. All these things that kind of go against you as a Villa fan, as a Villa supporter, and ultimately none of it really means anything when Jhon Duran pops up to score the winner and get us off the mark with 3 points on the opening day. That feels like such a massive boost, doesn't it? Just because everyone was expecting, I think, this slow start. And obviously, slow start means the first few weeks of the season, but the opening day, you can't get any better than that. To go and win when most people would be, I think, pretty content with a draw, despite going ahead early. I think even then you still would have taken the point as the game progressed forwards. But to win 2-1 and kind of get ourselves off now, everyone looks at the league table on match week 1, even though it does mean nothing. And to see Villa with 3 points already just feels nice. We're at the maximum we can get already. It just feels good, doesn't it?
Well, not at the maximum we can get for the season, mate. Let's hope we...
No. Just for exactly all we can have at the moment is 3 points, and we already have that. That's nice.
Yeah, it was... I think it was Villa Stato who tweeted in the week saying that Kyle Walker was playing for Aston Villa the last time that we won away at West Ham. Obviously, it would have been a different stadium then. I think it was it Houlier's? Might have been Houlier's last game. Might have been Houlier's last game in charge. to be honest, when we won there. So it hasn't exactly been a happy hunting ground for us. But when we did the big preview show in the week, wasn't I? What didn't I break with tradition by being the one who was a little bit more positive by saying that? Hang on a minute, it might not be a slow start. I know I was hedging a bit, but you never know. You never know with Unai Emery what the team's capable of, and with 3 points on the board, it gives us that spring in our step for another major challenge next weekend. I don't know. We're back underway, aren't we? Let's see what we can deliver.
Just on that season preview, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to mention something from that. Do you remember the little joke I made to you about this game in that episode?
I'm sorry that I don't know. What was it?
I mean, I'm coming out with so many jokes, it's easy to forget. I asked you specifically, has this game got a Jhon Duran winner all over it, but for either team? Because at that point, it still felt like maybe he does go to West Ham still. Obviously, tongue in cheek, but everyone's talking about it. Somebody in the comments there just said they predicted a Duran winner on the match preview we did yesterday. So everyone had that sense of there's a narrative there for him to come on with the number 9 shirt now, which again is funny. But as a serious point, me and John did a podcast after he did the Hammers thing, and we were kind of saying like, is there a way back for him here? This was a couple of weeks ago, and a transfer felt like it was going to happen at that stage. Obviously, Archer is the one that's left since, but it felt like he's got to come out with a public apology. He's got to speak to Emery. All these different things are really such a minor thing, and the thing that exemplified that for me was when the commentators were talking about the Hammers thing. And obviously they're not Villa fans, so it doesn't mean as much to them. They're kind of just like, oh, he was getting carried away there, wasn't he, when he did that? 'Cause he thought he was going to move, and then that was it. And it made me think, yeah, that is it really. Like, there isn't really much to it, is there? We kind of maybe did overreact a little bit. He is here now, as it seems, to stay. He is going to play. He is going to contribute with goals. And he's an asset. And Villa have to kind of manage that asset and get him ticking and get him confident and mature and all those things. Like, this is still a raw talent, but you'd rather have him than not, wouldn't you? Because he does pop up with a winning goal here and there, and that's going to be crucial.
I mean, you don't know where the story's going to go yet. I mean, he could have just added to his value for when he joins West Ham on deadline day, couldn't he? Who knows what's going to happen with the bloke? Listen, we've said all along, haven't we? And probably a bit disrespectfully sometimes, that I think I've described him to this kind of bounding Labrador that comes in and just kind of jumps up you and all this kind of stuff. He's a good footballer. He's got all the weapons, I suppose, that you need in terms of his pace, his power, but I think his work rate is really impressive. But technically, he's a good player as well. But if you're going to really, really make the most of those talents and you're going to kick on, especially if you're going to kick on under Unai Emery, you've got to be able to bring an element of control. And I think that applies on the pitch and off the pitch. And if Archer moving does mean that, we set and Duran staying and stuff like that, he needs to decide whether he's listening to his advisors or he's listening to the manager and his coaching staff. Now, I don't know who his advisors are, but I can only suggest by the way that he's behaved, they're not giving him the best advice, where we know what you get from Unai Emery. He's a brilliant people person, but he's also a kind of master coach as well. So he will direct Jhon Duran's career in an upward way if Duran just chills out and lets it happen. Yeah. So if that does happen, I think it's best for Villa, it's best for Duran, it's best for Unai Emery. Probably not good for West Ham, but still, who cares? We've just gone and beaten them, and we're joint top of the league, so let's bring it on.
It's interesting, when we did the preview and we spoke to the West Ham podcaster, Mark, we both basically said it feels like a good time to play West Ham, and for them it feels like a good time to play Villa. Early doors, new signings, a bit of a bedding in period potentially. The West Ham side that we saw today is not the West Ham side we will see in the reverse fixture, and arguably Villa to a lesser extent. You'd expect Maatsen to be starting at some stage. You hope that Villa will sign another forward, possibly Geertruida has been linked, so Villa will also look different themselves. But I wasn't expecting that West Ham lineup. Somerville, Fulkrug, the centre back that I've forgotten his name, Wan-Bissaka, like those players that will start for West Ham at some point. So it was a good time to play them in the end by beating them as well. But the game didn't go how I thought it was going to go. I thought, even still, seeing both sides, that this is going to be a bit kind of slow, a bit rusty. Maybe it's the first game of the season, a bit of a bedding in period. But for that first half an hour before West Ham scored with the penalty, which we'll talk about in a second, we were great. We were really, really good. It was like, this is just peak Emery ball again. Like it has turned on just like that. And that was the thing we were concerned about in the preview. And Villa fans have been concerned about with the pre-season. Our performances haven't been good. Can you just turn it on like that? I was like, yes, you can just turn it on, and we just look like our usual selves again. And that was really, really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, we could have been 4-0 up, couldn't we? If you think about it, we've obviously got the goal from the set piece early on. Bailey's hit the post where it's a tight angle, but probably should have scored. We've had McGinn, who's side-footed one just past the post when probably should have hit the target. You've had Morgan Rogers has just absolutely breezed through their defence and forced a great save. So as much as I've enjoyed the feeling and the euphoria of Villa scoring goals and winning Premier League games again, that kick in the nuts when that penalty's gone in, when we'd been in such control not against the odds, but I don't think we expected it to be for us to be that kind of free flowing and bursting through that often. That penalty, I don't know whether you want to speak about that penalty now or I don't know, but wondering all over the place.
No, you might as well. Let's get it out of the way. But first of all, was it a penalty in your opinion?
I don't think it was a penalty, but what I would say is, at first, and for the first few glances, I did think it was. Okay. I thought because I saw the tangle and the clumsy tangle of legs, but it wasn't until I saw it, probably because my old eyesight's failing, but it wasn't until I saw several replays that could actually confirm that touch was made. I'm not sure what he spoke. Listen, I don't think he needed to make the challenge then. I think there was enough cover and there was enough. I think the situation could have been under control without Cash going to ground. I think he was a little bit clumsy, but I don't think he did anything that were outside of the rules of the game, because he won the ball and then his body had got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think Souček's leaning into it and trying to play for it a little bit. But having won the ball, he can't just, disappear into a puff of smoke. Then Cash, there's still, you know what I mean? Those two objects are going to collide. So I thought it was, a really, really harsh penalty, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree. On probably the first or second glance, I did think, no chance. That's just a coming together. And then who was it on co-coms?
Alan Smith,
his name. Alan Smith. That's it. He was like, "Oh, no way. This is a penalty." Well, to that effect, didn't actually say that. But then there was this kind of like thing of, well, the referee's given it, and they don't want to go against the referee anymore this season with the VAR. So, I was thinking, well, if it's wrong, they still have to go against it. Kind of giving the on-pitch referee the benefit of the doubt kind of thing, which I don't like. And then the explanation was just like, Cash won the ball, but then he wasn't playing the ball. What? So he got a touch on the ball, but he wasn't actually playing it. Was they mind reading through VAR now that they know that Cash wasn't playing the ball? If he's touched it and he's won the ball, he's played the ball. So the rules, I mean, ultimately it goes on to this doesn't matter. We win 2-1. But if it doesn't, and I know there's a lot of people that are just like, let referee decisions, let VAR decisions be what they are. You can't change them. Don't get annoyed about it. But the opportunity for VAR is there to overturn things. I think that referee got that wrong. You can see why it could have been given in real time, but then they should get the opportunity to see it back and go, well, he's touched the ball, he's won it. Yeah, it's clumsy. They've come together, but no penalty, and we all move on. It just feels really strange that they're just going, well, give the benefit to the referee, and we'll just stick with him.
You just disappeared.
Yeah, I'm still here, but my camera's playing up. So you talk. I'll be with you in a second.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say to you, I'm not going to talk about VAR. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction. That's what they want. I refuse to talk about them. But now you've buggered off, I suppose I better talk about it now. It is strange if the safety net of VAR is to be able to correct any incorrect decisions. You can't just say, "Oh, we feel a bit sorry for the referees. Their feelings were hurt so much last time because we had to overturn so many of their crap calls." It's there to correct things that are wrong. And like I said, we've got the angles, we've got the technology to show that he's played that ball. So and like you said, the excuse that was given that he's played the ball, but we don't think he made an attempt to play the ball.
How do they know that?
Yeah, it's a bit random. I mean, the way Cash was continuing his protestations into half time suggests that he was making an attempt to play that ball. But
Yeah.
I did think, especially when I wouldn't say we're under the cosh, but for the final stages of the second half, the final stages of the first half, you're back. The final stages of the first half and the way the second half started, I thought that was the turning point that's going to undermine all of our good work and put West Ham on the up. And I did probably typical Villa fan pessimism creeping in, but I thought, oh Christ, is that the moment where we look like we were flying, and that's gonna undo our good work? But fortunately, it wasn't the case.
Yeah, I am. For those that care, which is nobody, I've started using my proper camera to film these now, which is why it looked really nice before. And it just battery died, even though the battery's supposed to be full. So I'm on my Mac webcam now, which to me doesn't look as good, but no one's here for the visuals anyway. Yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter with Cash, I suppose. It is what it is. It's clumsy. I know that people will kind of hold that against him. For those that don't like him and think he needs to be replaced, he almost cost us, that kind of thing. But again, I don't think that was a penalty. And yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter. So let's move on. We've done this.
Before we do move on, have you seen that stat from Squawker though about Cash?
I've seen nothing now.
Since he made his Premier League debut in September 2020, he's conceded more penalties than anybody else. I think
great.
6 now. Lewis Dunk, Issa Diop, and Didi conceded 5. So he probably still strictly should be level on 5 with those other ones. But I don't know. I think it's a commitment to win the ball, isn't it? He likes to kind of defend in that blood and thunder way. I'm sure there's been more occasions than 6 when him doing that has prevented goals and stuff like that. So I don't want to jump in on a pile-on with Matty Cash, especially when I think he was really hard done by today.
We're going to do a little sponsored segment now. Don't worry, this isn't a massive ad read. Obviously, this podcast is sponsored by NordVPN. So every week, Matt, on the podcast, when we do the post-match, whether it's you or anybody else, we're going to have the NordVPN Man of the Match, like a proper TV show, rather than being sponsored by some beer company or something. We're sponsored by NordVPN. So, Matt, who is your NordVPN Man of the Match, please?
You never prepped me for this, did you? You put me on the spot now. I might go with
journalist.
I might go. I'm a journalist. I might go with the Alan Smith vote and go for Onana. I was buzzing about him in the first half an hour. I think I described him rather excitedly as the player Patrick Vieira has always aspired to be. So no, I thought he was good. It's a narrow sample because we've only seen him in one Premier League game for us. Obviously, he'd scored the goal. I think I probably, I don't need to be 6'4" to score that. I think my shiny bald head could have nodded that one away.
You reckon you score that from there, really?
I reckon so, yeah. If I can, well, it depends what position I'm playing. If I'm playing my standard position of left back, I'm probably either taking the corner or I'm standing on the halfway line. But yeah, I reckon
I would love to set up a simulation where we make that exact goal happen in the same way, and you're presented with that challenge, that ball from 4 or 5 yards. You've still got to connect well. You still got. I reckon you're overestimating your abilities.
No, you make it happen. You get Yuri Tillemans along down Britannia Park or something, and we'll do it. I promise you, But I'd have buried it easily.
Okay, good. I'll just believe it when I see it. Yeah, he's obviously going to score that again. Quite funny. Why is nobody marking the tallest man on the pitch, the new signing, who's good in the air? I think Antonio was his man, and he just lets him go.
I've told you a story about when I played football against Darren Moore. I told you that.
Possibly, but retell it anyway for the new audience.
We were playing a press game against some of the Albion staff, and we lost about 9-2 or something like that. But Darren Moore was playing for them. So you say, why is nobody marking the biggest man on the pitch? You've never seen so many defenders want to just mark the goalpost. Nobody would go anywhere near because you're going to get clattered into the back of the net and probably end up on the M5 or something. So that's us kind of fairly lame journalists, though. You'd probably expect Premier League defenders to mark him, I must admit. But
yeah. But he's always going to score from that position. He will score that every time, won't he? Unlike you, I don't believe would. A great start to the game. Again, we're talking about a slow start to the season. Absolutely not a slow start to that game specifically to go ahead within the first 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not at that stage thinking we're going to run away with this and we're absolutely going to win. Still expecting a tough game to come off the back of it. But almost the perfect start, isn't it, when you score like that away from home?
Yeah, it was. And we're absolutely buzzing, weren't we? And I've given my NordVPN sponsored man of the match to Amadou Onana, but I thought Rogers was good. Probably faded. Well, did he fade? I don't know.
He had his moments.
Yeah, I thought he was good. Just trying to think. I thought Tielemans was good.
Yeah.
It just because it's felt really stilted in pre-season, and it has caused this wave of optimism to I don't know, to dissolve a little bit. I think in the build up to the game, but we looked like a. I suppose the danger is, isn't it, when you sign so many players, bringing them all in one go. We didn't do that, and we looked.
I knew we wouldn't do that.
And we looked like a team that was set, that looked like they knew what they were doing. There's only Onana really in that team who's a different player to the ones we're used to, I suppose. And that's what we got today, rather than what we haven't seen in pre-season. What we've seen in pre-season is a disjointed kind of set of players with a bit more of experimentation in. We looked like a team that knew exactly what they were doing today. So that was encouraging. I suppose you shouldn't really expect anything less than that from Emery, really. I don't think he's not going to instigate chaos on day one. He's going to let people grow into their roles and grow into knowing how they fit in that team.
Yeah, for example, Ian Maatsen will be our first choice left back at some stage this season. It could be from next week. It could be after the first international break. If Luca Dean has a brilliant opening 10 games, it will be after that. It's Dean's shirt to lose at the moment, regardless of how much money we've spent on Maatsen, but he will be first choice, absolutely, obviously, at some stage. But to throw them all in on game week 1 sounds stupid because we'll never know. But I don't think we win that game. If we just go, right, everybody new players, we try something different. West Ham didn't do it. I know they also didn't win, but you don't make that many signings and start them all at the same time. I was expecting Dean. We were talking before about Carlos possibly playing instead of Cash. But the rest of it, I think, was as is. That'll do wonders for Onana as well, won't it? To come in as a new boy and not be Douglas Luiz's replacement like for like. But again, people in the comments already suggesting much more technical and kind of gifted on the ball than they expected. I think some just think, looking at him and his size, playing for Everton, being a bit of a firefighter, just being in there to destroy people and sit there, a lot more technical than people realise. I think that will absolutely improve in the years to come. We worry about replacing Douglas Luiz's output. No worries.
The commentator didn't Alan Smith say something like, Villa fans worried about Luiz going to Juventus, worry no more. But it's probably need the evidence of more than one game. And Douglas Luiz was such a player for us that I still think they're big boots to fill, even if you are the size of Onana. It's very, very cliche, isn't it? Like a good touch for a big man kind of thing. But he did look good in tight spaces, to be honest. So that was something that was really encouraging. I've just run out of steam. I can't remember what I was going to say, mate. Give me another question.
Talk to me a little bit about next week. Well, obviously, we're going to do a Q&A this week. We'll do an Arsenal-specific preview. But what happens with the likes of someone like a Maatsen now? When do you bring him in? What happens with Duran? Obviously, Watkins has not had a pre-season. He's played an hour. Does Duran get the start next week, or is that his role to come on and be kind of, what do you call him last year, the agent of chaos? Is that his thing? Watkins can play 60, 70, 75, but Duran will always come on and throw himself about a bit. That actually does him a little bit of a disservice. He does do that, but he obviously has scored a couple of goals now off the bench.
Yeah, listen, if his ego is such when he's getting little bits and bobs from Villa and cameos from the bench, there's no way you throw him into the starting lineup yet. He hasn't. I think that's the perfect blend at the moment. Watkins will be trustworthy, hardworking. I know he's not the number 9, but number 9 who will lead the line, who will link play, who will be able to get into the box and score goals. he's proved it over several years now, Watkins. So Duran doesn't walk straight into the team, even on the back of scoring a winner like that and making the kind of impact that he did. So it's Watkins who starts for me, and Duran who's on the bench. In terms of Matsson's a really interesting one, because I mean that touch has made that second winning goal for me. That little touch that he's played. Was it Torres ball down the line? Maatsen first time touch into Ramsey cut back. Brilliant goal. Such a beautiful goal. But again, I think Maatsen will be eased in gently. I think a lot of what the starting lineup that we saw today, injury permitting, will probably be very similar next week. And against Arsenal, he probably want Luca Dean in there from a defensive point of view. So I don't think there'll be that many changes, to be honest, if any, if everybody's fit. But like you said, the good thing about this is that Emery has got the element of control and knowledge to know when to drop players in for that game, when to drop players in for their own development. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see when he feels players are ready. And again, of course, copy and paste this every week, can't you? And trust him, don't we? We trust him to get the process right, because he hasn't given us any real reason not to.
We always try and aim to keep these around half an hour. The intro music is 2 minutes, so we've only got a few minutes left. I wanted to do 2 more talking points, but first, a couple of comments from Patrick Yule, who says, "Only just got here. I'm going to rewatch from the start." So there's a weird Inception thing. Hello, Patrick. Welcome to the half an hour point in this podcast. If you've now caught up in the future, thank you for joining us in the past and the present. James Pierce says, when Duran pointed at the ground after scoring, did he mean that he was staying at Villa or at the West Ham ground? Which I quite like as a stupid, obvious thing. Hopefully at Villa now. The talking points I wanted to do was kind of how we assess the start now that we're already ahead of our schedule for points and Matty Cash. Before that, though, just on the squad depth, I tweeted this before the game. It's almost 500 likes, which is mental. Looking at our subs bench, I've got it in front of me. So much better than what we were seeing at the back end of last season, or even most points of last season, really. There was an obvious, maybe 3 or 4 players that could come on, and if we need an attacking option, it's going to be him. There's no one else left. You got Gauchi is the goalkeeper, only one goalkeeper these days. Who needs 2 anymore? Diego Carlos and Maatsen and Nedeljkovic as your defender options. Ross Barkley, Emi Buendia, which is great to see him back in a proper squad as well for the first time since May 23, would it be? Philogene, Ramsey and Duran. You look at that bench now and not only think, Christ, if we need to make changes, there's so many options to come on here. There's probably 3 or 4 players there that if they started every game, you go, yeah, fair enough. They're good players. So to have that strength and depth now, the tweet I did was, that's what the summer has been about, the summer window. Obviously, you want to improve the first 11, and I think Onana and Maatsen will do that, and any more business. But to have those options now is what will hopefully not let what happened last year happen, that we won't fizzle out. We're allowed to go longer.
Yeah, I saw your tweet. I was trying to think of the most impressive benches, but it's not really
Not way to track that, is there?
Yeah, the only famous bench. The bench in Afterlife. That's the only real famous bench I can think about. But that's probably a little bit more morbid way of looking at it when we've got so much life on our bench now. I think you've nailed
written
it
that down, haven't you?
I haven't, to be honest, but you've nailed it in the sense that we've got so many options now. We only need one goalkeeper. Emery's famous for sticking 2 on there. Listen, the list of names that you just read out shows that we've got strength in depth. The fact that we've gone and won that game, to me, shows more that we've got strength in depth, because I think all of the substitutes, I can't remember who they were now. We've had Duran come on, we've had Ramsey come on, we've had Maatsen come on. Who else come on?
Costa came on as our 1,000th ever player, which was fair play.
Don't know, what does he get for that?
I don't know. A round of applause.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool. It's cool, I suppose, isn't it?
I didn't realise till this list came out the other day that everybody on Twitter had got a granddad or an uncle or a nan or something. Yes. John Townley's granddad had played for Villa. You know that already?
I did know, yeah. But from our season preview, the fact that Frankie's got an uncle and John's got a granddad who played for Villa back in the days when they were like number 400, who are now on number 1,000. Long time ago. I knew about Jhon. I can't remember what he said about him. It's not like he played loads of games or was a really famous footballer or anything, but very cool to have that in your family. I haven't got that. Any of your family members on that list of 1,000?
I don't think so. I've not gone through it properly. I don't know whether I'll probably lay claim to somebody. I don't think there's a Kendrick in Villa's history, to be honest.
Not until 1,001 when you're on next week scoring that header.
Oh, imagine that! Oh, Christ. You don't believe right. I'm really upset actually because I'd have buried that.
Well, you could prove me wrong by actually doing it like the unicycle thing, which never happened. Anyway, on to the last point.
Burying that header than I have of riding a unicycle.
Oh, that's true. Right, very quickly, and I mean this in like a word or two. Where are points predictions now for the start of the season? I think you and me both settled on 4. You possibly said 5. Obviously, we've already got 3, so now I would probably change my points prediction to 6. Would you change yours, or would you stick with 5?
Mine was 5, so yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for a 7 now.
7, okay.
That's probably that's probably beating Arsenal next week and drawing at Leicester, isn't it? Let's face it, Villa.
That'd be the Villa way.
Go the scenic route.
But you do look at Arsenal game as being difficult, but it's at Villa Park. We're now off the back of a win. We've got that out of the way on the first game of the season. Anything can happen in that. It's the 5:30 kickoff. If Villa do win next week, I think most of us will be changing that 5 or 6 to a 9 because you'd expect us to go and beat Leicester as well. We're getting ahead of ourselves there. I'll be happy with 6.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect start. We've not won. When was the last time we won on the opening day? Did we win any championship games on the opening day?
Possibly, but does that really count?
No, not really.
It does, but yeah, forget about that part of our history.
Previous life, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Today, was I imagining it, or a kind of Austin McPhee, obviously been away with Scotland for the Euros, and just thought, I haven't really got much time to prepare anything. So just getting both the fullbacks to kind of wallop it in and like they were kind of old school Rory de Laps. We went a bit long, didn't we, from throws?
Yeah. That's the Onana factor, possibly, no? Aim for Onana for a long throw.
Yeah, I think it probably would have been the Onana factory, yeah. Oh, are we done anyway soon, ain't we?
Yes, the last thing I actually wanted to talk about comes from a comment. I don't want to be seen to be avoiding the difficult questions. So it's from Kevin, who says, Cash is willing, but not quite the quality we need now. Unfortunately, when you point that out, as fans, we are criticised, but it's just the truth. Now, I had somebody in my Twitter DM notifications earlier on saying, Matty Cash, eye roll emoji, West Ham are going to wallop us, or something like that. And I'll just reply saying, like, could we maybe just support the team? Possibly, who knows? Obviously, then Cash gives away a penalty, which doesn't look great. But we do win the game. So I've said a million times before, I hate that kind of pre-game attitude of, oh, they're playing. Oh, we've definitely lost, because it obviously doesn't work like that. I don't want it to be seen as that if you're anti-Cash, we're going to be critical of that as like, support the team. I think Cash is probably an easy weak link to pick out. And I think if Villa could click their fingers and do business, it would look like we've spoken about before. Maatsen and Torres on the left, and Konsa and Geertruida being your right side options. You've kind of got 3 centre backs in that side that 2 of them can play right back. I think that's the way Villa would like it to be, whether it's Geertruida or somebody. It's that kind of profile. Cash is here for now. He's here. He's done a decent job for us in his time here. And if we have to go into the rest of the season with Cash playing right back and contributing, as a Villa player, I will support him. But I am able to recognise that he's not the best right back ever. We probably can improve, but I don't like the kind of scapegoat attitude. I'm not saying that this is Kevin, but that you see of like, Cash playing, oh, we've lost. That's the kind of stuff I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I remember they used to feature in Heroes and Villains that pick out a different scapegoat every week or every month when the magazine was out, and they never ran out of subjects to put in there. So scapegoating footballers is a tale as old as time. Now, I think the thing is, listen, I had a little kind of debate with somebody on social media last week about Luca Dean saying how he wasn't up to scratch, and I can't remember the phrase that they used, but it was quite a damning phrase. I thought, well, to play pretty much every week in an Aston Villa team that has finished in the top 4, he might not be quite at the level of those around him, but that's because the level of those around him has just really skyrocketed into terms that we haven't seen for quite a while. No matter how good something is, there's always going to be one who's not. Like our big season preview of the day, we got you, John, Frankie, and me, and you three just smashed it. I mean, but I think I deserve to be in that company, even if I'm not quite at that level. Do you know what I mean? So there's always, you know what I mean? You're always going to find some way. If we get a right back who is the best right back in Europe, all of a sudden the scapegoat has to move position then. So we have to have a centre half or a number 10 who's not quite good enough for the one we have to blame. But that's football, isn't it? It's back, and so is our ability to debate it and disagree over it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want it to come across that like anyone who thinks that a different opinion is wrong. We just often, to be fair, you, me, and John are all very similar. I think we all have roughly the same kind of opinions, which doesn't always make for great conversation. Sometimes we have to disagree. Like, for example, John is been very pro Jhon Duran, saying he's a great player, and I was a bit like, I don't really see it. Maybe I will change in time. Maybe I will start to see it. I don't know. I've always liked the guy anyway. That is a wrap for this episode. Thank you, Matt, for joining me as always. Well, not as always, because sometimes you phone it in and you can't be bothered to do it. So, but you will be doing it next week. You will be doing it next week after Arsenal. It will be much later, of course, because we'll be at the game. So wait for us to get home. We'll go live Saturday night next week. Thanks to those who have watched this live on YouTube, almost 700 watching at 8:15 on a Saturday evening. Thank you very much for choosing our podcast to watch or listen to. And if you're catching this on catch up, get involved in the comment section with your thoughts on the West Ham game and the week ahead. Upcoming content, there'll be a Q&A on Monday, so get involved with that on social media as well. We'll do something else on Wednesday, and then we'll do a preview for Arsenal at the back end of the week as well. Matt, thanks for joining me. Thanks. God, come on.
What do you think about me bag?
Yeah, it's all right. So have you done a podcast about that at any point?
Yeah, you can get it on catch up through the old Villa voice notes on Spotify, whatever it is.
That was so like meek and like I was just told you. Yeah, you can maybe see it somewhere.
It's beautiful though, isn't it? Look at it. That's courtesy of a really generous Villa fan called, I've written it down now because I forget it. Craig Skellorn. What a guy! Isn't it lovely?
It is nice. It is a nice bag. Yeah, there is a whole podcast about that on the Matt Kendrick's Villa voice notes on audio only platforms. So an audio only platform describing the bag that no one can see. There it is. You can now see it. You need, I don't know if you use that door there, but I feel like you need something like a bookshelf or a unit or something to just put that on the floor. It's disrespectful to the bag, if anything.
We do use the door. I mean, the bag's actually keeping the door shut at the moment. So sorry, Craig. I do love the bag, but it's also become a very good, a very picturesque door prop. One final quick thing. It's movie night tonight with me and my wife. Recommendations on? I mean, it's not the old days where I can get to the video shop, get to Stellavision in Blackheath and pick up a copy. What shall I watch on Netflix or something, or on Disney?
God, not a film. But have you seen Slow Horses on Apple TV?
I haven't.
That's very good. I would recommend that. But you need Apple TV. It's the first downfall.
Is that got Gary Oldman in it?
Yeah, he's like the main guy. He's very good.
Thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the offshoots of MI5. So it's like basically like the crap division of all the spies that are no good. He's like the head of their little department. It's very good. I think there's 3 series and there's a new one coming in September, I think. So I'd recommend that, but I'm guessing one, you don't have Apple TV, and it's not a film either. It's a TV show. I failed there.
TV. Well, I'll get Apple TV intermittently. If there's something that I want, I'll get it like on the trial for like a month, and then sack it off again. But it's not a film.
I'll just stay up and watch the replay of that, to be honest. I don't know whether you want to
replay this.
No, not this rubbish. I must swore then. Not this rubbish. The game, obviously. Watch that.
Right, well, I'll find something anyway. I'll find something on my remote, and I'll report back next time. All right.
Okay. Welcome back to Film Club, everybody, where we'll discuss a film every week as well. Right, I'm calling it there. Matt, thanks for joining me. Thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.